Hello, everyone. Welcome to week 13 of my weekly lives. Just waiting for Facebook to show me that we are live. Beautiful. All right. So welcome to this week's live. If you catch me live, say hello in the saying on Facebook that I'm currently offline. Interesting. Okay, Instagram, we're good. Here we go. We are connected. Okay, I'm just going to quickly share this into my group. If you are joining me live, say hello. I'd love to connect with you. So I've had a few questions come through. So what I've done is I have picked out a couple of questions that I'm going to answer on this live. And then next week, I'm just going to continue to go down the list and answer some of the other questions. So if you are watching this live and your question is not answered, don't worry, I will answer it in next week's live because we got quite a few questions come through and I just want to make sure that, this doesn't go on for too long. So what I've done is I've looked at kind of the 5 questions I wanted to answer in this live, and then I will answer the rest on next week's live. Okay, so I feel like we might be, in terms of Facebook, it looks like the signal doesn't seem to be very strong. So let me just check. Okay, I think we are recording on Zoom anyway. So if it shows up on Facebook that it's kind of in and out in terms of the signal, I will just upload the one that I'm recording via Zoom. Okay. All right, so let's jump straight into the questions. If you have any questions that pop up, please pop them in the comments as well. If I'm not able to answer them here, I will go in and just type my answers, because we had a few people last week as well through Facebook and on Instagram. They had some questions, but I didn't actually see them come through. So I just replied via just writing back to them. So if any questions do come up, just pop them below and I will be able to answer them. All right, so jumping straight in with our first question that I've chosen here. All right, let me see. Okay, so the first okay, it looks like we're back again. I don't know. Technology. All right, so coming back to the question. So someone's put through that they're feeling unfulfilled with what they're doing and they're looking for something new. Any suggestions? So like what I was saying is, throughout whatever career that you're in, you'll go through stages where you will feel unfulfilled, or maybe you need a change. And so sometimes when that happens, and I've spoken to clients around this as well, sometimes when you go through that, you think that, okay, I need to like quit my career or quit what I'm doing, and I need a massive change into something new. That's not always the answer. What tends to happen is when we're feeling unfulfilled, there's a part of us that's feeling unfulfilled internally, and we think it's the thing that we're doing outside of us, but really it's something that's going on within us that we're not feeling fulfilled anymore. So what I would suggest in terms of that is to sit down with yourself and ask, like, what is the thing that's feeling unfulfilled? How are you feeling? Like, what's feeling unfulfilled about you? Is there something in your life that you're not giving to yourself? Because usually when we're feeling unfulfilled, it's not really externally, it's how we're feeling internally. So the first thing I would be doing is asking, what's going on for me internally? Where can I fill my own cup up, regardless of what's going on outside of myself? Okay, so it might not be the career, but it might be that something needs to change within you to make you feel fulfilled, so that you can fill. So when you are doing things outside of you, whether it's your career, whether you do want to change into something else, it's not coming from you thinking that you need to go and do something outside of you to fill that part that feels empty, if that makes sense. Let me know if there's anything that comes up as well while I'm explaining this, because what tends to happen is when we're feeling unfulfilled, it's not necessarily the thing that's outside of us, is that we're not filling our own cup up. Okay, and that can look in different ways in terms of what's going on for us. So the first thing is, in terms of that question, if you're feeling unfulfilled, ask yourself, where is it that you're not filling up your own cup, and what can you do to make sure that you're feeling fulfilled, not the work that's making you feel fulfilled. Okay, because it's not the things outside of us that make us feel fulfilled, it's what we do internally. Okay, maybe you're not giving yourself enough space to breathe, for example. Maybe you need to be taking more care of yourself. Maybe there's things or practices that you need to be doing to make yourself feel fulfilled. So it's not necessarily your career or your job or your work. It could be something that's going on internally. So that's the first place I would start, is asking yourself, where are you not feeling fulfilled internally? And then in terms of looking for something new, if you are looking to change your career or try something different in terms of your work, then write a list of your non-negotiables. Like for me, for example, if I was looking at a career change or looking to go into something new, I know my non-negotiables. I know that I don't want to work for someone else, so it will not be around that. Okay. So if you're feeling kind of lost and unsure as to what you want to do in terms of your career, make sure you write down the things that are non-negotiables for you. And that will give you some guidance as to, okay, I'm going to go down this career path or not, or whether it's in your own business, for example, and maybe there's something that you're doing that you don't want to do anymore. So at least you know your non-negotiables, and then from there, it'll give you some guidance as to what you want to change or upgrade in terms of your business. Okay. Second question is, I haven't made any sales for a while. I feel deflated. What should I do? Honestly, when it comes to entrepreneurship, this is something that you will go through. And if you haven't made any sales for a while, it's first things first is what's going on in here. If you are feeling, like you said, you're feeling deflated, the first thing that I would be asking myself is, how am I feeling internally? Am I not committed as I usually am? Is there some belief systems that are stopping me from receiving more sales or opening myself up to having new customers or clients come through? The first thing to check in on is your mindset and how you're feeling personally first. Then you want to look at, okay, well, where is my energy at? Am I all in? Am I kind of just chilling a little bit? Am I not committed to my offers? Like where is my energy at first? So mindset first, second is energy, and the last thing is you want to look at your strategy. Okay, so your strategy could be, for example, one, maybe you're not putting content out. Maybe you're not being consistent in your content. Maybe you don't have a community, so you need to look at building your community. That's why you're not receiving sales. Maybe your community is very cold, okay, and you haven't built up that trust. For example, I find a lot of clients, when they come to work with me, they have really great success at the beginning because they were all excited. They believe anything is possible. And so then they go and do that, start putting out their offers, for example, and they get some really, really good success. But then once they've gone through that period or that stage of business, then it's about really grounding down like the systems and creating and sustaining the momentum in their business. So a lot of people, they get this really fast success at the beginning, but it's like, how do you keep that going? How do you maintain that momentum? So depending on what's going on in terms of your mindset, that might be the thing that shifts everything in terms of your sales. Maybe you're afraid to put yourself out there, hence why you're not receiving any more sales, because something's going on internally. Maybe your energy is not all in. Maybe you're kind of afraid, for example. So your energy is the thing that's stopping you from receiving sales. Or maybe it's a strategy thing. Maybe your people are cold and you need to warm them up a little bit. They need to trust you, or you might not be an authority in their eyes. So you need to create that authority figure in terms of your branding. So there's so many different pieces to it. But the first thing I would start with is just checking in with your mindset, figuring out, like, is there any belief systems that are stopping you from receiving sales? Is your energy matched to what you're wanting to call in? And whereabouts is your strategy at? Whereabouts are you at in terms of your following? Do you have a community? But those are the key things that I would start with. Okay. Third question. I have all these ideas and not sure which one to start. Well, if you're someone like me and receives a lot of downloads, I think over time, in terms of my career, my journey, I've learned to receive these ideas and I would put them into like my little black book or store them in my phone. And so at some point, all of these ideas would come into fruition, but some of my clients, even, they would say they receive a lot of ideas and then they just don't know which one to start with. And so depending on where you're at in your journey and in your business, for example, if you're receiving a lot of ideas, amazing, write them down, right? Store them somewhere, whether it's in a book, whether it's in your phone, but have those ideas there. Now, depending on where you're at in your journey, and also if you have capital in terms of your financial place, like if you're someone who is starting a business and you need the money to come through to help with your expenses, for example, then I would be suggesting a different strategy to someone who's already got savings, for example, and not reliant right now on bringing in money to pay their expenses. We would look at different things here. But in terms of if you're receiving ideas, then I would be starting with the idea that feels the most like the easiest idea that you feel confident in actioning or launching straight away. So that's the one that I would be doing. If you're getting all of these ideas and there's quite a bit of a gap between where you are and where that idea has come from, or potentially it might be, for example, traveling the world and speaking on stages where there's thousands of people and you've never spoke before, or you've never stood in front of an audience of like 10 people, for example. That could be a really, really big idea, and your nervous system as the human right now might be afraid of doing that and doesn't have the stamina, the confidence, or the resources, i.e. the following, to be able to step on stage with there's thousands of people. So for example, that idea would not be the one that you would action right now, especially if you're really new to speaking on stage. So you might, for example, ask yourself, okay, if that's the grand idea, that's the ultimate idea, then you would ask, well, what is the stepping stone idea to get to that? And you would action the stepping stone idea. Okay. So I guess in a general aspect of that question is write down your ideas and then ask what's the easiest idea that you can implement right now to get yourself into action. Okay. The fourth question is, I've just finished my coaching certification. What do you recommend I do first? Okay, so it really depends on where you're at. If you've just finished a coaching certification and you've never, because I had a very similar question around this last week, and this person's specific question was that like they've been doing testimonial, or so they've been doing coaching sessions in exchange for testimonials, which will build up your testimonial base, but they didn't have a following. So if you're like brand new and you've just been certified in coaching, for example, then I would be getting a batch of testimonials, so exchanging my services, so doing free coaching for testimonials to build up my testimonial base. I would also be sharing content online, being consistent online. I would be figuring out like who is it that I'm supporting or helping. So my niche, like who is my ideal client, and creating content every single day and putting it out there. If you're going through a coaching certification, you're not yet certified yet, because this was a example of someone I was speaking to last week. If you're not certified yet, then I would be creating content to gain people's curiosity, but I wouldn't be saying, buy my services, because I'm not certified yet. So depending on where you're at in terms of whether you're certified now or whether you're not, the whole idea is to build up a community, and how you do that will be different depending on whether you're certified yet or not. If you're not certified, then I would be creating curiosity through my content, doing a lot of educational stuff, telling people about my testimonials, building my email list so that when I do launch something for paid services, I've got all these people there and I've got a following there. If I'm already certified, then I can start charging for my services. I would still be doing what I would be doing if I wasn't certified, but you can ask for the sale now, if that makes sense. So yeah, so in terms of just finishing your coaching certification, what do you recommend I do first? Like, content is the way that you pull in people. So I would be making myself visible as possible through creating content online and being consistent, getting into Facebook groups and networking, not from a sleazy place as well, because I know that there's so many. I mean, I have to go through messages where people are sending me messages about appointment setters, or they're trying to sell their services. Like, don't do that stuff. Like, you're going to naturally attract clients to you. You don't need to be messaging people scripts, copy and paste scripts trying to sell your services. To me personally, I don't like that. As soon as someone does that, especially if they request me as a friend and then they're selling their services, or they send me a message and ask what I do, to me, that's like a big red flag, because it's like, if you just requested me as a friend, you would know what I do. So don't ask me what I do. It just shows me that you haven't looked, right? So yeah, that's another story for another day. But in terms of some things that are still happening in terms of sales and DMing people, like, you don't need to do that. If someone wants your services and you're promoting yourself enough, they're going to come to you. So yeah, I wouldn't be DMing people. But what I would be doing is I'll putting myself out on Facebook groups, connecting with people, like real genuine connections, because if you're promoting yourself enough, if you're building a community, people are going to come to you because of the energy. Like, there's no icky energy. You're making yourself an authority in what you're doing. So of course people are going to come and pay you. It just happens organically. So that's what I would be doing. Okay, so the last question we've got is, I've made over $1 million in my coaching business. Amazing. Have been experiencing a dip in my income the last year. I've invested in multiple mentors and made a ton of new strategies, but nothing seems to be working. What's going on? Oh, this is a great question, a big question, because it really depends on like what's going on in your life. So to give a general answer on this to help a lot of different people, in terms of entrepreneurship and business, there's going to be highs and lows. When you're making changes to your business, depending on what business model you're implementing, there are going to be dips in your income. Like, that is just a given. So for example, perfect example is within my business, I was doing a lot of one-to-ones, and then this year we are phasing out one-to-ones and doing more group courses, so one-to-many. Now through that, of course, you will have some sort of dip in your income depending on what's happening, how you're moving your business, what things you're going to be implementing, what strategies you're going to be doing, because it's very different to showing up one-to-one and then taking all your knowledge and creating a course, and the way you launch it, for example, will be very different to what you've done before. So of course there's going to be some sort of dip. It doesn't mean that it needs to be there forever, but there will be some sort of change in terms of your income, in terms of the people that are coming through, in terms of sales, etc. So in terms of this question, but nothing seems to be working. Okay, so very similar to what I mentioned earlier is that if you've been doing something one way for a while and you know it works, what tends to happen is that you will need to go through a growth spurt in your business, because what happens is when a strategy or a system starts to work, it's not going to last forever. Meaning you're going to have to evolve the system or make some changes or make some refinement based off what's happening in the world, right? So if you've been doing something for quite a while and then it stops working, it's usually because you needed to change something or evolve something in your process, okay? And sometimes we can be very reliant on that working, and then when it stops working, you don't know what to do. So the general aspect of this question is you're going through a growth phase in terms of you personally and your business. So something needs to shift. Okay, if you've been investing in multiple mentors and you're learning new strategies, amazing. What I always say to my clients is, and I say this all the time, If you're going to invest into a mentor or into a new strategy, take what works for you and leave what doesn't. Okay. And I always say to my clients, please tune into my suggestions to you. So tune into it to see if it's aligned for you. Okay. So there's a fine line also around what's in alignment and what's not in alignment. So when something's not in alignment, it might not be the right time for you to implement that specific strategy, depending on where your business is at, because everyone's at different timelines in their business. So the first thing is knowing that dips are normal, okay? You learn from them. Take the lessons in your dip. If you're going through an income dip, take the lesson. Ask yourself, okay, what was a system that I didn't have in place and now I'm experiencing this dip? Don't look at it from a place of like, oh, like something's wrong with me, etc. This is business. So if you're experiencing a dip, ask yourself, okay, how could that dip have been avoided? And what systems do I need to have in place to ensure that there isn't a dip moving forward? Okay. The second thing is if you've invested in different mentors and different strategies, amazing. You're learning the ways that different people are running their businesses. So you want to take that knowledge and apply the things that you like and leave the things that you don't like. Okay. Just because you invest into a mentor doesn't mean you have to do every single thing that they do. Okay. Same for me. When I first started in this industry, I learned one way, and that was the way that my mentor did it. And so I thought that's what I wanted to do. I went and experienced it and realized that's not what I wanted. I don't want to have a big team in terms of my business. Okay. And that's not for everyone. So please know there's no right way of building a business. You've got to find what works for you. What is your ultimate plan? What is your ultimate goal? And then from there, you create the strategy based off where you see your business. So things are all, and the other thing is things are always working. Okay. So if you're saying that nothing seems to be working, you're focusing your energy and your attention from the wrong perspective. And what I mean by that is everything is always moving forward. Everything is always working. If you're in the mindset of nothing seems to be working, then you're going to continue to attract things that are not working. So the next thing I would say is you need to change your mindset. You need to change your perspective. You may think, for example, that yes, you've made $1 million in your coaching business and there was ways that it was working and it felt easy. For example, it was familiar. You're now going into a growth spurt or growth provoking opportunity where some systems need to be implemented in your business to then skyrocket it to the next level. So you may think that things are not working because they were working for you before. They are working, but you're going to see it from a different perspective. There might be a little bit of a gap in terms of seeing results right now, but if you're being consistent, if you're working on your mindset and you know from that perspective that things are working, then they will. Okay, so what this question shows me is that one, there's some belief systems that need to shift, and your mindset in terms of your perspective and how you're seeing things. You've got to look at it from a business perspective. There's nothing wrong with you. Okay. And just because you've invested in different mentors and different strategies doesn't mean that that was the bad choice or a wrong choice. No, it means that you've seen or you've got a little bit of an insight of how other people run their businesses. You've learned different strategies that you can now apply to yours if you want. Right. So it's giving you an insight into how other people run their businesses, and then you can implement the strategies that you want to implement. And from there, you're going to move forward with your business, but it's nothing to do with you in terms of like, there's something wrong with you or you made the wrong move. There's never any wrong moves, right? It's just a move that you will learn a lesson or it'll skyrocket you into the next level. So great that you've made this amount of money through your coaching business. Just know that your business is scaling to another level, and sometimes there might be a bit of a dip. And to prevent that happening in the future, you've got to implement some systems, right? You've learned some new strategies, so start to put those in place and continue moving forward from a new perspective of everything's always working out for me. Everything is always moving forward, because it is. Right? If you change your perspective, I guarantee you'll see shifts in your business. You'll see things that have been working, but you didn't think that they were important. All right. So those are our questions from today. If anything has come up regarding these conversations, please pop it in the comment box. If you have any questions around anything we've spoken about today, again, pop it in the comments so that I can come back and connect with you. Again, I'm going to be addressing some of the other questions that I got through this week on our next training, on our next weekly live next week. Any questions, pop them below, send me a DM. I'd love to connect with you all. I hope you guys have an amazing day. And today is the last day of May and we're heading into June tomorrow, which is exciting. So I will see you guys next week for our next live. Hope you have a beautiful day and I'll see you